Right, week 11, Vikings versus Broncos. Denver is favored by 1.5 points. And I always wonder why anyone favors Denver at all anymore. I'm going to take Minnesota on this one. We'll go ahead and talk through the numbers. So the model, just raw numbers, really likes Minnesota. And of course, anyone's been watching, you can look at it and say, well, of course they do. They had Kirk Cousins, and up until 2 games ago, uh, then Minnesota would have been favored to win this by a lot. So, as I always say, you have to. That is when a key quarterback is lost, you have to take that in consideration. All these numbers mean nothing when, or let me phrase that, they don't mean very much. They don't mean nothing. But how do you make sense of them when the player who has the most impact on the outcome of a game is hurt? You go from Kirk Cousins to Josh Dobbs. Well, as we saw in this last game, and I would say the last 2 games, they have adjusted to go to the Minnesota's adjusted to go to a running game. And quite frankly, Josh Dobbs, he's been playing solid football. Okay? You just have to acknowledge that. And so then I'm not really going to go over the box plots over here as much because the box plot is really, I think is going to be um, uh, more geared towards a Kirk Cousins offense. Okay. But that notwithstanding, what I will point out is when I come over here to the Bayesian, is that is also going to take into consideration the performance of the model compared to the actual result, and it's still coming out saying no, Minnesota should win. And so with that, I'm definitely going to take the under. I have a feeling that the odds makers like Denver because the game's at Denver, and quite frankly, I do realize that the altitude can certainly make a difference. I've played there. I'm familiar with it, but these are really good athletes. I don't think that they are nearly as impacted by that altitude as what sometimes the press would lead us to believe. Not to me, it's not an issue, but not to the extent that I think Denver suddenly is going to turn into a good team. Granted, Denver's won their last 2 games. Uh, the fact that they beat Kansas City, um, considering the fact that Patrick Mahomes was playing sick, I don't know why they played him, but they did. So I'm not really willing to put in that and say, hey, look, Denver's really good. I think they, um, uh, I think that they are um, still Denver. So we will see. And again, they're playing tonight. Notice that there's nothing there. I'm doing this before the game, so we'll see how they do tonight. So let's come over here to the performance charts. Uh, Again, you got to look at the Minnesota passing stats and say, well, without Kirk Cousins, what are they going to do? And what they're doing is they're making up with better run. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's anytime I look at Russell Wilson out there, I just really struggle to think that he's doing much of anything. Um, you can come down here, you've got some explosiveness. How much of that is due to Kirk Cousins getting that in their ball handlers' hands? But those guys are still out there, and if Josh Jacobs is getting it to them, they're going to be all right. The other thing I would point out is you definitely just have the Denver offensive line. They're not invested in uh, Russell Wilson at all, and I think Minnesota, they're still fighting for that division. They've got a lot to fight for. They're protecting their quarterback. They're controlling the ball. I have a hard time taking a good, solid team like Minnesota and saying that they can't overcome the loss of a Kirk Cousins when they've got a good team everywhere else around them when they're playing a fundamentally poor team like Denver, a team that in Denver that I think has given up. So anyhow, those are my thoughts. If you like what you listen to, click like and subscribe. And if you've got any questions or comments, drop me a line.